Welcome back, everybody, to Ultimate CNFT. Mike, aka Mr. Ultimate, and I'm here with you today with SpeedThrone, the founder himself, Behzad, a project that I love very much. You guys know that I really enjoy this project. We're going to talk all about it today. And I got one question for you, just one question for this whole interview. How are you doing today, Behzad?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and talk with you everything about SpeedThrone.
It's a pleasure to have you here. We've actually been communicating for a few months now, at least, and we've talked about having this interview. And we're saving it for a timely purpose such as this, and this is a timely purpose. You've got a lot to share with us actually today. I'm very excited to get that to all of the viewers out here. And so, really, the stage is all yours. I've got some questions for you, but for the most part, I want to hear about where you guys are going with where you're at right now, and we'll get to that. But what I want to know primarily is, how did you get your start in this project and the idea of everything you're doing? We'll talk about the cross chain and all that stuff, but really I like to know where people come up with, hey, I want to make a project and this is what I'm going to do with it. And then you get to the point to where you're at now.
Yes, I think the first thing to say is that every time someone decides to start a project, they have to think if they are solving an actual problem or not. And that was our mentality when we started to work on a project like SpeedThrone. We saw a lot of hype and a lot of speculation around gaming and blockchain. We were a gaming studio before that, so we had an idea about how to make games, but to integrate it with blockchain technology was something that really wasn't on our forte, especially in the very beginning. So we started to do some research and quickly realized that a lot of the gaming projects on blockchain are either very simple looking, 2D style games, or if they are a more advanced, game mechanic based sort of things, they are suffering from a game economy problem generally. And that's that they do not have any sort of scalable solution to their game economy. And this was around the success of, Axie Infinity, and where we actually saw a boom actually in the whole, blockchain industry and its relation to gaming. So we set out to solve these problems and decided to create a high quality game to start with things. And we already had started to integrate our, at that time's projects to Unreal Engine 5 and try to see how things will work in the early access period, that is. And then eventually we figured out that, yes, if we want to join the whole blockchain and Web3 industry, we have to come up with a good solution to, first, the quality of the game, and second, its economic integration. And then there came the whole idea about us sitting down and researching for a couple of months just to see what is actually wrong with these economy systems and how we can actually tackle that and how we can solve that. And then we quickly realized that we have to create a novel method, a novel approach towards the game economy features for any play to earn sort of platform. And then the first solution was to make it more widespread use. So we had to make the game according to a solution that we generally call in gaming free to play. And that means the game is absolutely open for everyone to play it, just like Dota 2, for example, or CSGO, for example. So the idea is for the project to just release the product free of charge to everyone so they can play it. But the revenue generally comes from selling cosmetic items, microtransactions within the game itself. So this was the early model that we decided to employ. And then because we had a token now and integration to Web3 and blockchain, then we could possibly start to think about making the economy actually scalable. And that was the deflationary tokenomics that we designed come into play, so that every time players interact and the more players come and play this game, join this whole ecosystem of Web3, which has a game attached to it, they quickly realize that, wow, now there is less and less tokens, because every time players are going to interact with these tokens, they're going to remove those tokens from circulation. So essentially what that means is that every time a new player comes in, they have incentive to bring their friends into the ecosystem, and the game is free to play. So everyone can actually enjoy it and play. And then maybe they also are good enough and are skillful so that they can actually earn from it. Just like a typical, esport, StarCraft 2 or Dota or all of these League of Legends, a lot of these esport based games are relying on a play to earn method, but only the elites and the professionals actually earn, right? So this is, I mean, of course, we want to expand on that and make it more accessible so people who are not actually pro gamers can also earn from it, and also integrate it so that the whole economy of the project is scalable. So that's the key. And then if we want to make it scalable, we have to think about a solution that would cover everyone, regardless of what type of blockchain they are using, whether it's Cardano or Ethereum or Polygon or every solution that there is available in the whole Web3 space. You could actually employ and make the people from those communities join the fray and play the game and compete against each other, and at the same time having all of those cool economic features implemented into the game. So that is where the whole idea about competition between different blockchains come in, and that's why we started to develop the game much earlier, before we actually raised any funds through NFT offerings or token offerings. So I think that's where we are actually right now, and that is that we actually have a game that we are going to present to our community and Cardano community for the first time on 7th of April this month. So in 5 days time, probably we are going to have the game demo launched. And that's the exciting news. That's where we are at the moment. So it was a very long answer, but I think it covered a lot of the questions that we have.
Well, yeah, and it really did. So, it pretty much covers the idea of where you started, where you came from, your direction, and you're here right now. And I know that you're going to share some of this demo with us here in a little bit, and I think it looks great. I want to talk a little bit about your NFTs before we get to that point, and then we'll talk more about your economics. But I remember one thing that I discovered with you guys before you even minted the Alpha series or the Prime series, rather. I'm sorry, the Prime series. I was researching you guys, and I've made a couple videos on you all. So if you guys want to see some of the videos we did with SpeedThrone, you can go ahead and check those out on the channel. They're right there for you to see. We covered both series, and I had read very deeply into your white paper, and I noticed that one thing that stood out to me was you guys were going to be, cross-chain, basically. You weren't even calling it cross-chain, but you were talking about the ability of doing these things. You're talking about Ethereum and all this stuff. And that was really the first that I had heard of a project on Cardano with cross-chain aspirations. And now fast forward to today, things go by so quickly in this space. Everybody's talking about cross-chain. I mean, even myself on UltimateCNFT, I'm starting to cover Polygon, and I'm starting to realize that, NFTs are there's the NFTs, and there's all these little sectors of, different NFT projects and different NFT communities and blockchains and all that. And everyone's going to start to kind of conglomerate, because NFTs are really the central focus of the whole thing. And so you guys were ahead of the game in that regard. As far as I was concerned, I'm thinking to myself when I made this video, how am I going to, present this idea the way they're doing it, that they're actually going to be reaching outside of Cardano, and how is that going to be received? Well, it seems to be very well received. And so the question that I have for you is, you're starting off in Cardano, which I think is great. You came here first and you built this, you built the community. You got a lot of people who are really excited about what you're doing. By the way, your graphics are really good. Your NFTs are amazing. They are not a second class NFT project at all. Like I said, I've minted both of them. And I'm excited about it. But, so if you can tell me a little bit, it's going to start on Cardano. At what point is it going to get out to, like, let's say Ethereum or is that like your next target? And then maybe beyond that, what are the ones you're looking into, like Polygon and so forth? Because I think Polygon's got a lot of potential. But explain to me how that works and how the competition works.
Yes, I think the competition is, of course, very, very tough. I mean, there are a lot of gaming projects, good gaming projects, I should say, that are coming up. Not just racing. On the racing side, also there has been a lot other games that have launched in the last bull market, and they have had a tremendous success. But overall, I think the goal with cross-chain or multi-chain, whichever you prefer, is that we want more people to actually start to use the whole platform. Because it's actually scalable. If it wasn't a scalable solution, and we were concerned that the more players we get, we have a more, inflation on our tokenomics and everything, then that there was no motivation to do that. But now that we have created this economy model that is actually scalable, we are able to say that, yes, we can now support cross-chain capabilities. So I think this is one thing that a lot of people that want to go cross-chain should also realize, that if going cross-chain is actually in their benefit or not. For us, it was from the beginning, and it was a clear sort of reason for that. So as far as the the other chains go compared to Cardano. Of course, for Cardano, creating a community is the easy part, because I mean, it's not easy, but it's actually more feasible. You can measure how you are performing in terms of your community growth, because Cardano community is more passionate and more around when it comes to their NFTs.
I agree.
And it is one of the, you know, if you just compare all the other chains across like the whole Web3, you can see that there are a lot of projects, and like everyone who you talk to knows that Cardano has one of the best communities available to them, to their whole platform. So it was an easy decision for us to just go for Cardano from the beginning, because it was a community with a lot of traction, and we could actually see how people respond to things. But as I said, to start to go multi-chain, we are also looking into technical aspects. Like on Cardano, because of the whole extended UTXO model, everything is easier to do if you are just going to transfer data that is not inside the game. So everything on chain on Cardano is and there are a lot of solution providers like the ones that we have partnered up with, like ADA and it made our job much easier, and we had connections, and it really fit our model of using a small transaction fees and just sending ADA accompanied with the native token to the people of the players. And we had expertise in the house to start to develop those, you know, primitive dApps that would help us, you know, distribute the rewards and everything. But then when it comes to Ethereum and other chains, for us, it's more important that we look into something that is actually decentralized, because that's the whole goal for Web3 is to go for decentralized platforms. And of course, Cardano passes the check mark right there. But for Ethereum, of course, it's also decentralized, but the gas fees are in a way that it's not actually possible to run a proper gaming experience and make daily reward distributions on Ethereum. So we had to look into alternatives, and it's very good that nowadays we are seeing a lot of layer 2 zero knowledge rollup protocols. A lot of scalable solutions are starting to appear on Ethereum and on sidechains like Polygon or even Binance Smart Chain. All of these possibilities are there, and they are reducing the cost of running a daily reward distribution platform on those chains. So I think for us, we have looked into a lot of alternatives to see where it goes. And I think, for example, Arbitrum on Ethereum is one of the you know, scaling platforms, the scaling solutions that would be very interesting to the game community eventually. I know the other option was Immutable X that we realized we were actually checking that quite closely when Illuvium was starting to launch on their platform, and it actually seemed to be working pretty well with basically zero gas fee transactions, and you know, making things easier for the gaming industry, at least that is. So I think the motivation for whole cross chain is explained, but at the same time, it's about trying to establish a connection between these communities, between the Cardano and Ethereum, as long as there is a bridge and connection within this particular game that they can actually share something, some Web3 aspect in their platform, in our platform, that is. It's a good thing. It's a positive thing. It's a step towards the right direction, at least in our opinion. So yeah, that's the motivation for all this. And of course, we are starting to put together NFTs on all of these different chains, because when you run a car game, you can't run a car game with like 4 cars. You need a diversity. You need people to actually go around, look for the right car that fits their, you know, their favorite things. So we have to start to expand all of these cars, and at the same time, it's avoiding inflation of NFT tokens on a particular chain. So if you want to launch collection after collection after collection on Cardano, eventually that would defeat the whole purpose of, you know, rarity in the NFTs of the space. So we want to expand into the other chains, and I think that's the whole like part of the motivation, that is to protect the uniqueness of the NFTs that are already minted on a particular chain.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And I love the way that you have that outlook on it, because that's the truth. You can easily dilute something. And if you have too much of it and there's not enough engagement with the people who are wanting to participate in that, you can totally dilute the whole thing. And then before you know it, you've got a bunch of stuff sitting there and people are like, well, why am I buying these NFTs, beyond, because some people don't even really want to play the game. And some people are just, they're NFT investors, they're collectors or whatever. And especially like if you get car people, I know there's a lot of car people who are really into, your project simply based on the art that has come out along with it, and I know we talked about in my second video the release of some of the information you wanted to get out to the public, which was awesome. I was so honored to do that, and how you layered the alpha series, how they're layered by video and all of the imagery that goes into it. You guys have a really great development team. You guys have a lot of people working in a lot of way to get this direction, to get this thing coming up to where it's at. And I know that you've got almost like a demo, a beta version to show us here, and I really want to show that, and I'm excited about it. But before we get to that point, because that's kind of the money shot of this video, tell me a little bit about like the team that you've got with you, building these kinds of things, because you're the founder and you have a lot of people working with you for you to get this project out there. This is not just your base layer project, build something that looks cool. We got a PFP, even a shiny car that spins and all these things. You've got big plans. And tell me about how this team has developed to the point to where you're at now, where you're getting ready to do like some big things.
So we were a game studio before we actually started our Web3 venture. So we already had a team assembled that was mostly active in taking projects that are outsourced from major gaming studios like DICE over here in Stockholm, and a lot of other indie game studios. When they wanted to outsource something, we had connections, we could take on those projects. But when we started to actually run our own project, we had 15 people that were agreeing to start working on the project with a very little amount of income, that is to say, because it's not zero income, but we had to provide a budget that we actually had in the company in order to fund this development from the beginning.
Right.
So we started to do that, and then we already had a revenue that was from other games that we were developing in the studio. So we actually could afford it to continue the development and create the prototype and the minimum product, that is the MVP, let's call it. So we had some funds for that, and then eventually we also had a couple of mints on Cardano that was mostly going to help us with this whole development speed and process of testing the actual idea on to see if actually people want a good quality, high quality game on blockchain.
Yes, we do.
In general,
we do.
or not. But of course, clearly, yes, and clearly there is demand for it, and there are people that are really willing to actually invest in that thing, and that's perfect. That's very good. And we are, like everyone else, we are also hit pretty hard by the bear market, but at the same time, we had our provisions for that. So it didn't really affect us as hard as it has affected a lot of other projects. Nonetheless, I think the idea is the team was formed, and we had a good mixture of people from different expertise. We started as 3 founders. I took the role of the CEO, and then we had a CTO who was a developer called Wahid. He has actually left us a couple of months ago now, but he's actually a senior system architect in Meta, Facebook at the moment. But he's close friends with us. He's giving us advisory on a lot of things, and we actually got lucky with recruiting one of our own community members who is actually really, really expert in what he's doing. So we got lucky there, and that was the adjustment to the team that we didn't have. But before that, we started with 15 people. We had a few artists in the team. We had 2 female artists, Sarah and Nikki is actually the person behind drawing the whole design on the Alpha Series card. So we had a couple of artists. We had a lot of game developers in the team. Naturally, we had a lot of 3D artists and 3D modelers. I also come from a 3D modeling background myself. Like 2 years ago, I did some 3D modeling and worked on some animation projects and stuff. So the team is about 15 people and expanding now with like all these new recruits that are coming. But hopefully we have a good mixture and a good capacity to make the vision come to life.
Well, there's a couple things you said here, and one of them, that sticks out to me is the fact that, well, number one, you've got a big team, you got a good team that's working on a lot of experts in a lot of different areas, because you are bringing, and we're gonna show that, we're gonna show this demo here in a second, because I'm just as excited to show it to everybody because I've seen it. But the fact that your community, like you said, you've already talked about a couple things. Cardano, number one, having some of the best communities out there. And I totally agree with that. The decentralization, but you have a guy who was with you and is now doing something else. And you found someone in your community who is an expert at what they do. And now that person is working towards helping develop your project. Oh, I think that's fantastic, because that gives a heart and a soul to the project itself. Somebody who came in as a fan of what you're doing, appreciated what you're doing, and now they have a chance to put what they can do to it. That gives a little twist that you can't get anywhere else. You can't really you can't pay for stuff like that. No. Those are the kinds of things that I think make a project great. The ability to find that. Look, there are so many talented people that are joining these communities, and you don't even really know sometimes the gold mine within your own community. And so I love that you shared that story with us, because that's awesome, man. You got some women on your team. We need more women in this space. I love to see them, come in here and integrate their expertise as well. The designs, your project, again, your NFTs are awesome. Let's queue up that demo, because I want to see it and we want to show it. And you can tell us a little bit about how this is going to play out, and for everybody getting to the point where they can start to play this game themselves.
Absolutely.
That's the exciting part here.
Let me just quickly share my screen then. And we actually have these demo presentations happening routinely, not routinely, every second week, that is. So I'm going to bring this in here. So I hope you can see this. This is a part of the prototype that we are going to launch on 7th of April. There is still a lot of placeholders here and there. But let me just make sure I'm on the right setting. Yes, that's good. Yeah, let's just play a little bit. I don't want to spoil the whole environment. That's why I skipped a lot of things. But I think you can see the feeling and the car. And we can use our nitro to boost a little bit. Oh, this is going to be so much fun.
All right.
Yeah, I think I avoid going too far.
Yes, of course. Yes, because I know this is the first time showing it in public, and that's great. Let me ask you a question. So are you using a mouse to control this? How is this?
No, I'm using my keyboard at the moment, but you can use a controller. You can use a PS4, PS5 controller. You can use the Xbox controller.
Okay, all right. We are stuff that people are familiar with. That's great.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I mean, the game itself is actually, well, now I'm getting a very bad record on time and game time. But I think the everything about the game is, we actually have a leaderboard live and people are playtesting things. I don't want to spoil their records, but the whole idea is that when you are playing this game, you are competing in different areas. One is the time trial, of course, but at the same time you are competing for going around picking up these small points here and there and these type of things. So just to avoid spoiling too much, I'm just gonna close the game here and probably stop sharing my boring screen and talk more about the whole process. So yes, we are going to compete in a racing game. We have tried to make it as accessible to people as much as we can, because when we are trying to launch a high quality game project, we also have a lot of limitations and that we have to consider. But I think we have tried to keep it minimal in terms of the type of system requirements to run the game. But we will see how it goes. I think for the moment, you of course need a Windows PC. You cannot unfortunately play it on Mac at the moment, but we are working on that. We have tried to make the actual game being playable on lower end video cards, but I think the minimum that we can actually handle with proper, physics and everything before you break the game and you can compete, you need to have at least a GeForce 10 series, basically 1080 probably would do, 1070 probably, because everything is physics based. So a lot of calculations and the physics computations are going to fall on the shoulders of your GPU, and probably that's the biggest limiting factor. But apart from that, I think the website, the storage, hard drive storage limitations, those things are going to be not an issue probably. Or I don't think the game its whole size is going to be more than 2 gigabytes. It's going to be a rather accessible sort of game, and we are looking into solutions to actually provide an alternative to people who actually don't even fulfill that requirement, so that they can also enjoy the game. But the version that they will get probably is a bit low end in terms of the graphics and visual. Nonetheless, they can still play it and compete hopefully in that variant that doesn't look as sexy as this one, but still it's a competition game. So yeah, that's the goal here with the demo.
So let me ask you then, so this is a play to earn game specifically. And so you have leaderboards, you have, like you said, different things you collect, some of these things, you have some time, some lapping things and everything. Yes. How is the main mechanism of the play to earn work? And like you said earlier in this interview, you're designing this that not just a couple of professionals can come in and dominate the whole thing, because obviously if that happens, you're going to get the majority of the people are going to be disinterested. So tell me about how the play to earn economics come in. We'll talk about the token, how it breaks down, and the deflationary aspect and all that stuff. But play to earn, for those who are like, I love car games, because there's a lot of people who love racing games. It's probably one of the number one things out there in this type of avenue. How do they earn this game by playing it? And obviously the NFTs that you own are the ones that are integrated into what you just showed us, correct?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, not in this very version, but yeah, we are working on a different version that would bring in
integrate the NFTs, of course. Yes,
exactly. So, and that's not that far away actually in development. We already have the solutions and testing.
Good.
But that said, I think the idea here with play to earn is that we have, not so long ago, actually a couple months ago, we started to produce this, mint this community token that we are using to reward our community for their activities. We are going to launch a platform where people actually compete in community-based activities like tweeting, those type of things, on a platform called Crew3. I'm sure a lot of projects are getting familiar with that platform. I think it's a good addition. We are doing some modifications to that, so it's going to be combined to our actual Discord thing, and that is our social gaming side, where you actually can earn these tokens, and I will talk about the utility of them in a moment, but you can earn this community token through just social activities. And then there is, of course, the staking scenario where people who are going to play the game actually engage in a gamified staking solution. And that is a collaboration that we are working with one of the very sort of OGs of the Cardano NFT space. And I'm not going to mention their name because we have a non-disclosure agreement with us, but I think they are going to help us with that gamified staking solution where you don't really need to play any game. You can just stake your card in some way or form that is actually a game related scenario. At the same time, when you compete it and when you complete that scenario, you get the rewards paid in a smart contract sort of platform. And the rewards are again in form of our community token, CRS.
Okay.
And then there is the game itself, and that's where the actual play to earn is going to happen. And that's for people who actually are interested in competing and trying to earn. And for that, we are making the design of the play to earn in an event-based manner, where basically we are going to run daily, weekly, and monthly events in which the leaderboards get reset every time people compete. And then by the end of the day, we are going to reset the leaderboard and basically reward the participants who are in making it to the cutoff of the reward distribution. Say it's, I don't know, top 10 in one event, top 5 in another, top 20 in the other one. So it's a variable sort of system and structure. And then we are going to basically make the entry level for these events being associated with certain factors, such as the types of NFTs you own in your wallet. If there are, of course, some events that are absolutely free to play, they don't need to have any requirement and join them. But of course, you can imagine that the events that have some pre-requirement attached to them are going to yielding you, the higher basically rewards. So this is our way of promoting the NFT usage in the ecosystem, and that is by allowing access to high quality events and high reward events. And at the same time, basically people who are into Web3 can enjoy the Web3 features. People who are not into Web3 get to experience a type of Web3 aspect, and hopefully they will like it. And then that's a new wallet that is built on Cardano, that is created on Cardano. So this is why the games and of course back in 2021, people used to say memes are the entry point for blockchain technology and the crypto adaptation, right? They started with this Shiba Inu and Dogecoin and everything, and they had a lot of fun with it. But at the same time, I think the main sort of way to promote adoption of the technology is actually by providing it for free and see who is interested, they will join, and then those who aren't interested, when they actually use the capacities, experience the good things and the good things that this technology actually has to offer to them, only then we have done our work successfully, and then we are onboarding new people both to our game and also to the whole Web3 space. So I think this is the type of initiative that it's very simplistic to say that, oh, it's just a game, it's just another racing game. But in truth, it's not. It's actually a platform to onboard new people to the ecosystem. And I think that's our main objective here, to try to promote the blockchain usage, whether it's Cardano or it is Ethereum or any other sort of Web3 based application, let's call it.
Well, I'll tell you what, from my personal opinion, from what I do here on UltimateCNFT, I like that. I think more projects should adopt that method of understanding that, hey, we still have to grow as a space. Cardano is still, there's so much going on, but at the same time, we need to have the growth offset the number of projects that are coming in. And even if you just exclude some of the ones that just aren't going to make it, because we know that there's so many that aren't going to make it. We're talking about some of the better projects here that have some staying power, some good teams, some good inventions coming down the pipe. As the quality of projects increases, so does the user base, and it needs to increase to stay up with that, to create balance. We have to have that balance achieved. And I love that you guys, like you said, your main objective is to open it up to basically everybody who can try it out, see if they like it. Hopefully the user experience is good and they do like it. Like you said, you're creating new users, you're creating new NFT enthusiasts or racing game enthusiasts, or people who are just out there and like, hey, this is a play to earn. I can get really good at this and I can earn from this, which is great. So tell me a little bit about the tokenomics, like the utility of the token itself, because obviously that is the central focus of what the play to earn is. What exactly are they earning? What can they do with it? How do they use it, etc.?
Yes, so we actually have a game token that we haven't launched yet, and it's still further down the road when we actually launch that. And I think to be completely transparent here, we are also, like everyone else, trying to time our launch perfectly that aligns to the bull market, so we can actually benefit our holders and early supporters. Also our own budget, like,
of course,
there is no secret there. The main token of the game is actually going to have a very special feature, and that would make it deflationary. And that is that as I mentioned earlier, SpeedThrone is going to be a microtransaction based game economy. So that means that every time you want to interact with the market or with the marketplace of the game, and you like this new car engine that you want to put on your NFT or car, or upgrade it so that you can fulfill this pre-requirement that I mentioned earlier for a temporary time for a very cheap amount, instead of going and investing in a much more expensive NFT, you can actually pay, I don't know, $2 and get access to this particular event instead of having an engine class, I don't know, 5 entry level NFT. So this is like the motivation there. And people who aren't really into NFTs and convenience shoppers, actually those people can generate revenue for us in that way. But I think the way to integrate the blockchain technology into that is that we are going to make the game items, the market items, being offered to people who use our tokens for much cheaper price. And essentially, if you can buy something for $10, like a skin inside the game that you want to have, you can actually use our token and pay, I don't know, $1 instead. And that is basically creating motivation in order for people to spend our tokens inside our marketplace. But then when that happens, unlike everyone else, this is where we start to do things differently, because now everything that is spent, instead of them coming to our pockets, they are going to go to a burn address. So essentially, every time people are spending our token inside the economy system, we are going to have less and less of that token. And this is going to partially balance the injection of the tokens into the ecosystem that the play to earn is producing. At the same time, it's going to basically create this whole motivation of interaction for people who have the token but don't know how they can use it actually.
Right.
They can of course go to a DEX and sell it. They can go to exchange and sell it as a conventional cryptocurrency, but they can also use it for its utility, or they can actually count on other people wanting to do that, and they can just hold their bags, and that would probably increase in value eventually, because there is one aspect to it as a speculation, and there is of course another aspect that is the deflationary nature of such platforms, such approach, that over time there is going to be less and less of those tokens available to people anyway. So essentially this makes the whole tokenomics approach scalable in our opinion. Luckily, there hasn't been that many projects that have used this simple trick to expand and scale their tokenomics, but I think we are the pioneers in that area. And I really like that you mentioned we were multi-chain from the beginning, because I think that's a very important thing. When you open our website, the first sentence and the first word that you see in there is the word multi-chain. So we're really happy that we took the right approach, and we anticipated the correct direction that the Web3 is going to head to. So I think it's the same, I hope it's the same idea and concept here with the deflationary economy. So yeah, this is everything about our actual SPDT token. When it comes to our other token, that is the community token, that one is only at the moment is only being supposed to be used as a mean of community interactions and community rewards and everything. But eventually, when we launch our actual SPDT token, we are going to see the distribution of these tokens, to see how much of it is actually already distributed to the people who have interacted with it, and then create a liquidity swap between these tokens and the actual SpeedThrone token.
Okay, that was my question basically, because now we're talking about two different tokens, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so give me 1 second of a rewind, because for whatever reason your thread had cut out about 15 seconds earlier. So go back to what you were saying about the SPD token and the CRS token, right? The CRS token is the one that's coming?
It's actually on the market now.
That's the one that's on the market now, and then and so that is how does that connect with the token that's coming?
So the token so for the community token that we already have, we have created other utilities too. So maybe I can go through them and then come back to this final point about its connection and relation to the SpeedThrone token, right? So the utility of the community token that we have is actually going to be used in the gamified staking platform, and in order to make your staking a bit more efficient. So that is one usage of that. And the other one is that we are going to use those tokens to pilot our current play to earn in the demo version of the game and see how it goes. And it's a Cardano token, because the other token might not necessarily live on Cardano, because you have to address all of these other other chains, right?
Yes.
So so the Cardano aspect, which is the community token that I was just talking about, we have a lot of incentives for those tokens to be collected. One is that we actually set these tokens as a pre-requirement for receiving the airdrop NFTs in our beta series collection that is ongoing. We have a lot to cover, and we don't really have time to cover everything.
Of course.
But I think it's good to just bring them up, and people can go and do their
research. Yes. So, and do their own research. You got to remember, everybody's got to be ready to do some of their own research, because then they retain that knowledge. We talk about these things, we present them to you, and then you go out and you do your research, and then you really retain knowledge. So yes, please carry on.
So yes, the community token then comes into play. And then we have decided to start to, this is alpha information, but we have also decided to start to put some purchasing power for those tokens in form of ADA. For example, say if you hold 50,000 of these CRS tokens, the least you can do is that you can return it to us, and then we will pay you with an NFT or 100 ADA or something. some sort of
Okay.
a balance that we will eventually launch according to how distributed these tokens are. But if you don't do any of that, if you don't care about the staking, and if you don't care about getting cheap ADA for that, what you can do eventually when we launch our SpeedTT token, you can actually swap a portion of these tokens to the SpeedTT token according to the rules and sets and ratio that we will announce when we are closer to that time, because at that point we know how much of SpeedTT token we are going to allocate to this whole community building approach, and then how much of the CRS token is actually loaded outside is actually distributed outside our mint wallet essentially. So, and then probably it's going to, if I can give you a feeling about what the reward and ratio is, that I think it's going to be something on par to, if I give a hint, it's going to be something on par to what we actually had back then when we were running our VIP game with ADA reward. So I think if you really want to dig and see how much you would earn, we have a reference there that you would essentially refer to when it comes to the actual how we actually are distributing or swapping these tokens for the SpeedThrone token. So probably those who are really into doing their math and calculations can go and figure out how they can expect these tokens to have value. But I think this
so
is
I do have one question for you real
yeah.
quick. So is there like a liquidity pool that's provided for this, or is that something that's coming like through the game itself, or like, so in other words, when let's say there's people that are ready to exchange for some of that ADA, how does that process work, or has that not even been determined yet?
It hasn't been determined yet. I don't anticipate that we create a liquidity pool for that. I mean, everyone can go and provide a liquidity in a DEX for this, but for us, it's probably when the time comes for swapping these tokens for ADA or NFTs, it has to be happening through a particular event of some sort, and then we will announce that, and then we will run an event and say that you can do that. If you catch the train and swap your NFT or tokens or NFT, you will get this much, and if you miss the train, eventually we are going to like repurchase them with a smaller, or like wait for a different time. And again, yes, it's an event in which you can basically exchange your community tokens for the actual valued token that you are talking about.
Okay. All right. I like that. And so also you were saying that there's a marketplace that you guys are going to be creating. And is this something like a typical racing game? You can upgrade the tires, you can upgrade the steering, the engines, all those things. I know you have some traits and some things. You also work with some of the other projects in the space to get some of their PFPs on there, which I thought was really cool, encompassing the whole Cardano idea that we like to work together to keep a stronger environment. So that's going to be fun. Now, is that going to be done in the CRS tokens or the second version of your token, the SPD?
It's going to be on the second version of the token. The CRS token are mostly the rewards for our, of course, now they are going to be used for the play to earn pilot experiments before we actually launch the main token for those purposes. But until that time comes, the CRS is going to be primary source of rewarding people who are engaged in the community, or either in the staking platform, the gamified staking platform that I mentioned earlier, or they just want to follow up on our weekly community games or daily community games, interactions and everything that you like, missions that you would do in a social media platform like Crew3, or just simply like good old grinding in Discord and talking to people and keep the community engaged. I think these are the type of motivations that we are creating for distribution of the CRS token. But then the long-term goal and utility of these community token is to be somehow used for purchasing Web3 assets, that is NFTs or ADA, or swapping them for the actual token when the time is right for that. And the market really allow for launching a new one token added to rest of the, I don't know how many tokens we actually have in NFT now, but yes.
A lot.
So,
There's a lot.
Yeah,
and that's why you got to stand out. When you create a token like that, it's going to be one of those things that like people are going to get like, okay, well, how does this actually bring value? And obviously, if you can swap that out for ADA, or if you can swap it out for assets that have value, then there you go. And then, of course, you can use these as well to buy into games, which, allow you opportunities to earn more tokens there, so on and so forth. So the upgrading of the cars itself, how intricate is that going to be? When like you got your NFT, right? You want to make it the best you can possibly can because you love the game, you're engaged in it. It's so much fun. You're ticking off those dopamine level releases. How intricate is that upgrade system going to be for the cars themselves, the NFTs themselves, once you get to that point where you're using the NFTs to play in the racing game?
Right. So imagine that we are looking at a scenario. Let's imagine that. So we have our events starting to go, and then we have this particular event that requires an engine class 3 NFT in order for you to be participating in that event. And it has a very good reward and everything. And you think, oh man, I wish I could play that. But then you don't have any NFTs, and you don't have any, you don't have a lot of money to invest in an NFT, because probably the people who own all of those, class 3 engines, they're not going to sell it for cheap,
right?
When
Exactly.
that is happening. So we are providing this alternative, and that means that you get access to this only. You get like a temporary access of say 1 hour, or like 10 tries, or like 1 day, 24 hours, depending on the price. And then you can actually purchase that ticket and temporarily upgrade your NFT so that you can fulfill that particular event. And that is actually motivating us for, our revenue stream going on. Or if you don't want to help us with the revenue, and we encourage you to do this second option, and that is when you actually spend the SPDT tokens, and not only benefit us as the developers, who is actually also benefiting from increased valuation of the token, but also benefit everyone else in the community, everyone else who is actually engaged, and also yourself for the next time when you're going to win another chunk of price from that play to earn reward. So essentially, it becomes profitable for everyone to use our token for its utility, that is being the in-game currency, and essentially benefit everyone else that is in the ecosystem. And they also get to experience and get what they wanted from the beginning, and that is to be able to participate in this particular event to show their ability. So basically, that's the bread and butter of how the marketplace is going to function. That's not all when it comes to, removing limitations that we have provided and created, because that would be kind of weird. Because of course, you also want to have access to cosmetic items and elements that are, HUDs, different garages, different, stickers that you want to put on your car, those type of things, like small cosmetic things. And that is a very common sort of a thing in the whole gaming space in general. So we are hoping to harvest that for our revenue and for our benefit, but at the same time to make the valuable assets that the NFTs are kind of bold, so that people can see that, I wish I had one of those NFTs, so that I don't have to pay for these, $2 entry thing. So
because if you enjoy that experience, you're more apt to be like, okay, it's almost like you're giving people the option to have like a test run to see, how are you going to fare in this upper class or whatever it's going to be. Yes. And if you like that, there's these NFTs that the people are holding that creates an NFT economy, which is great. Buying, selling, trading, all those things are part of the economics of what makes, something viable. And I think that the way you guys are developing this and designing this is really big brained. And I know that people are watching here and they're probably like, okay, they're trying to wrap their minds around, everything that's going on. And I do, again, I like to teach everybody to do your own research. Look, everything is out there on your fingertips. This is a great community. I've like I said, I've covered this project twice. I want to ask you a couple questions between the alpha and the prime in a second here. But all the links to everything you guys need are in the description box below. So go ahead and check that out. You can get on the Twitter, you can get on the Discord, you can find out, you can ask questions. The community is really going to be very helpful in understanding this. And the more you understand, the better, because you're getting ready to, this game is coming. It's coming this year. The ability to geek out on all the things that we just talked about is on its way. We're on the cusp of it, which is why we waited to do this interview until about now, because we wanted to get people excited about what's coming. Personally, I'm excited about it. Look, I minted the alphas, I minted the primes. Can you tell us real quick the difference between those two cars, and can you use both of these cars in the game itself? And if so, like, what's the difference? Because people, I think, when they get really into the NFT side of it, they're like, well, what do I need to own one, both? What's the best one? How do they both? What's the difference? Shoot it.
So I think the prime cars, if you look at the visual of the prime car, there are three different traits. One is the color, that is solely used for the purpose of our VIP game. And of course, before we go further, I can say every car NFT that we have minted, you can actually play using those cards inside the game with that exact visual. So if you have a prime car, it's gonna have that funky looking style of, you know,
I love it. I love the prime cars, man. I think the prime cars look great.
Yes. I also think the same. And the special item that comes with the prime car is a key, if you remember. So that key, no matter if it's a platinum key or if it's a bronze key, it doesn't matter. It's going to unlock all the events that are accessible to people. So essentially, if you hold even a single prime car, you are going to have access to all of those other features, or sorry, events inside the game. So that is like one way to just avoid interacting with marketplace and just going after a prime car, and then you are set for that. So this is the in-game utility of the prime car, but that's only for one prime car. If you want to have more of the prime card, and if you really want to compete over that, we have created this VIP game that is like a collector's game. So this is more falling under the hood, under the idea of card collecting type of things, where you actually collect a particular set of prime cards, whether it's according to their key material, or if it's like the car colors or the card types. And when you create those sets, you actually start to come up in a live leaderboard that we have created. That's called the VIP game leaderboard. And we have assigned weekly CRS rewards to the people who are competing in that leaderboard. And I think the reward distribution schematic there is actually rather generous, I should say. It's like we are rewarding the top 20 people that are participating. Of course, the top person is going to get the most CRS tokens, and the lower ones are going to get lower amount of CRS. Nonetheless, I think the reward distribution and the CRS distribution schematic in the VIP game is pretty generous, I should say. So we encourage people to participate on the VIP, but at the same time, those who really aren't into that aspect of NFTs, and that is the collector aspect, they are into actually racing and using the cosmetics of the game and get engaged with all these, story and lore behind the game, and start to join a guild of, racers, and start to compete and really deep dive into the game lore and the game story, and essentially the actual gamers who want to use their cards inside the game. That is when you would require an alpha or beta series card, and that's where we actually did a mint of the alpha series cards in before, and then we are holding some of that supply until we actually launch the game's marketplace itself. And I think we will wait for that and see when there is demand for those cards to be released, and that's when we actually make a community decision around that and start to look into options for opening that mint one more time. But until that time comes, I don't think we have any intention to do that yet. We will have to see. It's very likely that we will wait until the markets start to really recover, and we feel that there is a real high demand for increasing the number of alpha series cars. Or if we feel like it's too late for that, and we have already gone multi-chain on all these other projects, then we will see if the community actually wants us to release the rest of the alpha cars or not. So this is sort of I think we closed the mint right at when we had promised, and that is after the 35% of the NFTs were sold. I think the deadline for that was 24 hours at that time. So we are going to keep that. I know that the cost and the mint price for those NFTs weren't as high, but they also weren't that cheap. So we are looking into the market and decide, and whatever community decides for that, essentially. But yes, I think the alpha card, that's the story that we were talking about. And then there is the beta card, and those cards are the ones that are completely airdrop. So everything that you see in that beta collection is going to be a continuous airdrop according to some of the pre-requirements that we will identify in the community for that drop. So for the first series of the beta series cards, we had actually only dropped into the wallets that were holding more than 10 alpha card NFTs. That was more of a thank you note to people who really supported us during the alpha mint. Yes, I know. But at the same time, I think the future rounds of those type of airdrops, I think I can tell you that for the next drop, we are looking into a card that have a very special type of, cup style card.
Okay.
So we are looking into that, and I suppose there are going to be funny, somehow relevant pre-requirements that would fulfill that pre-requirement for the next beta series airdrop. But yes, alpha and beta cards are the ones that we are going to be using for the game itself, for the cosmetic value. But at the same time, we are going to use those cards for our gamified staking solution. So that's where those are. And then we also have another collection that is the King series collection, and that is only dedicated to those who had the Discord King role in our community. Those are the OGs of the community. And we gave those King series to people who were with us from the very, very beginning. And I think they are, if you look at the floor price for those are actually the most expensive ones at the moment. But I think we are in the depth of a bear market, so we are expecting things to hopefully change for everyone who is also invested in the project, so that they can also make a lot of profit on that.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. We are in the depths of the bear market, and it's funny how the bear market oftentimes reveals not only what projects are really made of, because not everybody's going to make it. It also, unfortunately, reveals what the people who are investing in some of these projects are also made of. We see a lot of things going on in the space that necessarily I don't approve of, so I stay far away from those kinds of things. I have a positive mindset, and I believe that projects like SpeedThrone and several others that I cover here on UltimateCNFT, a lot of people, a lot of founders that I've talked to, a lot of people who are investing and voting with their ADA at this point. That's how people, if you want to have a voice in this space, vote with your ADA. Invest in the project that you believe in, and the research that you've done, and the projects that you think have staying power, and the teams that are here to work through the bear market. I actually think that this bear market is a huge blessing, because not only is it going to shake out the people who don't belong here, the people who aren't willing to stick it out or work to achieve their goals, no matter where you're at in this space. If you have goals, you're going to achieve them, and you're going to work hard, bear or boom or bust. It doesn't matter. And I love the fact that we're going through that right now. We're getting a chance to really just reveal, I think, what I always say, the cream rising to the top, because I do believe that eventually the cream will rise to the top and stay there. But you have to go through the speed bumps, I guess you can kind of say, no pun intended,
no pun
to get there. But yeah, and I love the fact that, bear market, I know you guys have your nose to the grindstone. You're working on all these things. You're developing all these things. You're listening to your community. Your art speaks for itself. Your game development is on its way. You've got tokenomics that are coming. Look, I've been a fan of SpeedThrone since I first came across you guys for many, many reasons. And look, it's been an honor to have you on here. And I've been waiting for months to have this interview conducted with you. And it's like you were saying, when it comes to SpeedThrone, there's so much to talk about. We really couldn't even do it in one interview. I couldn't do it in one video. You and I will continue to have our relationship, further develop here, because I want to let people know about the developments of your project. You've shared a lot of information with us here today. And I always, again, implore people to go out there and do some research. If you like this video, if you've gotten this far in the video, hit that thumbs up and that subscribe, and share this with people, tweet it out there. SpeedThrone, is a project that is going to be building and is developing something that I think people are going to want to engage in. The cross-chain, however you want to put it, interoperability that you're working on as well, that you've been talking about since before it became a popular subject, is also something that shows your innovation, your understanding, and where things are going, and the team that you have working with you, bringing up people from the community. I mean, look, high marks across the board. I'm a big fan of your project, the developers itself. And I'd like to ask you, is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to share with us before we go ahead and close this out? We're going to get this video chopped up and sent out there for the masses to see, because I want people to understand where this project is going from the developers themselves. But did we forget to cover anything important that you would like to share with us before we cut this out?
I think we pretty much covered everything. I would say that we encourage everyone to go ahead and try to play the game. And I think that's our ultimate, no pun intended, ultimate goal for for the whole project. And we want people to actually experience what we are building, and only then we expect people to invest on the project itself. So I encourage everyone to actually get on and play the game. I know it's gonna be a bit, far-fetched when it comes to, not far-fetched, but it's gonna be a bit, higher quality sort of game that, of course, you need to have a proper hardware for it. We have tried to minimize the complete requirement. And then this is something that I'm sharing here now, and we are trying to make a different version of the game also so that it's playable for everyone. But that one would take a little bit more time. But the whole goal is that I encourage everyone to go check the project out, learn about us. I think we are building something that we expect the whole Web3 to appreciate it. And I think we have all the necessary tools for that, for success. And I think in the end of the day, the success of ours is coming from how the community sees us and how they see the value in what we are doing.
I agree wholeheartedly. And I mean, that's the mindset that I think people should have as they develop their projects. It's will the community support what we're doing? Do they like what they're doing? Are we on the right track, or are we just living in an echo tunnel? But I believe that you have your finger on the pulse of this market very well. You understand the times, you understand the ebbs and the flows. And again, high marks to you for all the work that you've done and accomplished so far. Get out there, guys, test that game out. Go join the Discord, everything out there. Get familiar with SpeedThrone if you're not already. For those of us who are investing along the way, you already know what's coming. You're excited about it. I hold, multiple assets from this project. So full disclosure there on UltimateCNFT, as always, full transparency. I'm holding a number of both of these series of cars, and I really like them, and I really love your community, and I'm excited to try the game. Look, I don't always have time to do very many things, but this is something that I have been waiting for a month. So you better believe I will be out there testing that game. And again, but Behzad, thank you for being here. I appreciate your time. Hey, again, like and subscribe, you guys. Support the bright projects by voting with your ADA and doing your own research. That's what you are taught to do here more than anything. And if I can leave you with anything, I'm going to leave you with that. And it's been a pleasure having you. So, hey, as always, peace out.
Yes.
And God bless.